Hey guys, this is Hype, and today I'm going to be shoutcasting a game of DoWpro that I played. The matchup is Necrons versus Space Marines, and my opponent is Yao. And as you can see, the map is Quest's Triumph Pro. So without further ado, immediately I'm going to be starting with my Necron Warrior First Hype build. This build is, you start off with 3 gens. You go Necron Warrior, Necron Lord, and as soon as your Necron Warrior finishes, you have exactly 220 power saved up in order to start building the Deceiver. So I think I timed that quite nicely, and it works out quite well. And over here, we have Yao going for a Force Commander First build, and he's going for a gen. And you can see my Necron Warrior is just finished now and I have 220. It's so nice. One thing about this map that I find a bit annoying is the edge of your base runs right here. So even though it looks like you can walk out here, you actually can't. So this gen is actually placed right on the edge of the map. And the good thing about going Necron Warrior first is that with your first Necron Warrior squad you can push out and check that your opponent isn't doing any forward capping. So you can see that I've just checked that relic there, and right now I'm going up to check this critical. And now that I see that there's nothing there, I can push forward towards his base. The good thing is that the Force Commander takes longer to build because you need to build, the Space Marine player needs to build his barracks first as well. So if he's going Force Commander first, which is probably the best to do versus Necrons, I know that I'm safe by moving out with these Necron Warriors. But even when you do come into contact with the Force Commander, you are able to kite the Force Commander with your Necron Warriors, which is great, because you can damage him without him damaging you. And you can see I'm just stopping to fire, moving back, stopping to fire, and since the Force Commander has to stop to do his big wavy thing, it works out quite nicely. Unfortunately, when you're playing multiplayer on GameSpy, there is about 1 second delay between your commands and your units actually doing it, which I find incredibly frustrating, but you just have to deal with that. It's not iCup or anything, and there's no LAN latency, so deal with it. And now that my Necron Lord has come onto the field, and Yao's Force Commander pretty much has to run away. And you can see I've already put 500 damage on him, so that worked out quite well for me, I think. The good thing about damaging your opponent's hero early is that later on in the game he's going to have to attach to his squad, and that's always a good thing to force if you can, because it means that his Force Commander can't tie up your squads. And you can see in my base I'm already going for my second Necron Warrior, which is just spawning. So the less that's tied up the better. And you can see with my Necron Warriors I'm just pushing, he's had his scouts which have just tried to cap this, which I've driven him away from, and I have a Scarab buried there in order to cap it. And at the north point, my Necron Warrior my Necron Lord, just teleported into my base, into his base. I just scouted that he'd gone Grey Knights, and I think he was checking the top critical to see if I had a Scarab buried up there. And the reason I've teleported into Yao's base is just to check what he's doing, and also to try and score some free servitor kills if I can, which is always annoying for your opponent when you're losing builders, as it is for any race. And lucky me, I scout these Gone Assault Marines. So now it's about time to get out of there, I think. So I should teleport out. Yeah, there I go. And up here on the relic, I'm just trying to prevent Yao. I've killed his scout squad, which is trying to capture his relic. One thing I really want to prevent him from doing is getting war gear for his Force Commander, especially since I damaged him quite early. The Iron Halo war gear for the Force Commander has insane regeneration rate. It gives the Force Commander an insane regeneration rate. So the longer I can prevent that, the better. And you can see I'm just battling here. I wish I'd killed that scout, but I didn't. He's going to capture the criticals. The good thing about criticals for races that require requisition is they give plus 10 resource, which is quite insane. Well, not insane, that's just how it is, but it's quite useful. So the more crits you have, they definitely give a large advantage. Oh, you can see here I've just done the phase out ability on my Necron Lord. When your opponent has gone a lot of melee units like Yao has here, that's quite a good ability just to tie up squads and to be able to put hurt on for range. From range. Back to the criticals, they give a lot of advantage to a race like Space Marines that is able to hold them, which is why, even though they don't give so much advantage to the Necron player, if you can hold them as the Necron player, it means your opponent isn't holding them. So by preventing that, the plus 10 requisition to your opponent, you're actually putting yourself at an advantage, even if it's in an indirect way. So that's why it's really important to keep capping the crits, even though they don't give Necron that much advantage in power or anything. And you can see here, Yao's just finished capping with his scout squad, and I'm already popped up to decap it. And over here I'm just pressuring his base. He did manage to kill off one of my builders before. Over here you saw the squad of builder scarabs die, and that is quite annoying because they cost 100 to rebuild, but it's much better to have them around the map and decapping and capping stuff rather than having them sit in your base doing nothing. And you can see one of the great things about going for 2 Necron warrior squads is when you're in trouble you just teleport them out. You can see here, since I've seen that Yao's gone for a rather unusual build, which is investing heavily in his Grey Knights and his Assault Space Marines, I've decided to tech up to Destroyers. Now, because I've realised that he's not going to have much anti-vehicle on the field, as usually you'd have Tactical Space Marines and be able to build rocket launchers. And unfortunately, it turns out Assault Marines have melter bombs, and they absolutely rape destroyers, but still I think it was a good idea to go for vehicles, because he's not going to be able to have too much anti-vehicle. And you can see I did lose, I think, 2 squads of builder scarabs there, which was unfortunate, but again, it's better to have them on the map doing things than sitting in your base. If they're sitting in your base doing nothing, then they may as well be dead anyway, so I wasn't too worried about that. And I chucked down a chronometron just to slow them down, but they just jump away.